Hi guys, welcome back to Gentifix Daily Leads. And today's job lead comes from the company called Wikimedia Foundation. Now, before we go into the job leads, and I have quite a few for you today, let's talk a little bit about Wikimedia Foundation and what it does. It is a non-profit organization which hosts Wikipedia and other free knowledge projects. So they basically make it easy for you to share the knowledge that you have. Now, they protect the values and policies that allow free knowledge to thrive, and they continue to build new features and tools to make it easier to read, edit, share from Wikimedia sites. And one of their major projects, which I mentioned before, that everybody knows and love and has been standing for a long time, is Wikipedia. Now, above all, they support the communities of volunteers across the globe who edit, improve, and add knowledge across the Wikimedia project. Now they have over 700 staff and contractor support that support the Wikimedia projects, and they have many donors and readers. Of course, you might be one of them, as am I. They have various open positions right now, and on their website, you are able to go ahead and read about their executive team, their board of trustees, as well as other projects that they are undertaking. So they say here that they have over 100 million media files on Wikimedia Commons, and it is basically the free media repository, and they have over 1.5 billion unique devices which visit the Wikimedia Foundation site on a monthly basis. Now, a little bit more about the foundation before we move on. They have a vision that the world is one in which every single person can share their knowledge freely, and they believe everyone has a potential to contribute something to the pool of knowledge that is shared. No, they host Wikipedia and other projects under Wikimedia. And what they do is it is a charitable, not-for-profit foundation or organization which genuinely relies on donation to thrive. Now, they receive donations from millions of people around the world, and the average donation is about $15. So one of their mandates, or better yet, how they function, is that they are an equal opportunity employer and they value having a diverse workforce to continuously strive to maintain the diverse range of backgrounds that they have. They do not discriminate against any person based on their race, traits, historically, religion, color, national origin, sex, whether you're pregnant or not, your related medical conditions, parental status, sexual orientation, parental status, gender identity, all of these different categories of persons, they do not discriminate against any of them. Now, finally, before we go into the job leads, we want to talk about the countries that they are currently hiring in. And some of those countries are listed right here on the screen. We have Australia, Austria, Bangladesh, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Ireland, Italy, Kenya, Mexico, United States, Uganda, Switzerland, Spain, Germany, many of those countries, and they have a non-US employee. They have their non-US employees getting hired through local third-party employer of record, or UR. Of course, they periodically review this list to determine what they need to make sure that the jobs are aligning with their requirements. So let's get into the jobs. And of course, applicants can reach out to their recruiter to understand more about the specific pay range for the locations during their interview process. Now, the first job on the list is the executive communication lead. And we have a little summary of what the job is like, and they want an experienced strategic communication professional or writer to support the communication and thought leadership strategy for senior leaders and executives in the organization. Now, what the role entails is that the person will be responsible for working with Wikimedia Foundation executives And it's basically with a focus on products and technology leadership, identifying new and compelling thoughts, leadership opportunities, and building narrative platforms that increase awareness and understanding of how the foundation works and its value in the world. It is a role that is also responsible for building communication material for executives. And these are such things like briefing documents, talk points, internal communication, supporting development speech, ghostwriting, and basically proactively identifying and shaping public speaking opportunities. Now, the role, if you are someone who has previous communication experience, including working with media outlets, expertise working with senior management within the technology sphere, and you have the ability to autonomously develop thought, leadership strategy, and crafting talking points, then this role is perfect for you. It is also a role that has a broad visibility across organization, and that includes getting to work deeply with and within product and technology. Now, this role gives you the opportunity to collaborate and learn from colleagues across media relations, and basically, you will be involved with advocacy, crisis communication, and such the like. Now, the ideal candidate is a very strong and adaptable writer, is a diplomatic and seasoned collaborator with self-directed professionalism, and they know how to connect. Basically, very enthused about the opportunity to get deeply embedded within the department. Another responsibility would be that you will be leveraging relationships with reporters and conference organizations to identify new and compelling publications and venues for foundation leaders to speak. Because obviously, to garner donation, you would need to be engaging with people on a wide scale in order to compel people or just basically convince people that this is a cause that is worth donating to. Now, some of the skills and experience that they would love for you to have is some years of experience. Right here, they have six, and it can either be in journalism, editorial, or communication. You need to have strong verbal and written communication skills, as well as be able to edit and demonstrate writing abilities, both short and long form pieces. They need organizational skills, experience in managing multiple projects and deadlines. You need to be comfortable working with reporters, staff of media outlets, and working in technical topics, translating complex technical concepts into narratives that are compelling. You need to be passionate about new trends, proactively identifying media opportunities for spokesperson, and of course, you need to have the ability to do research. Qualities, you need to be resilient, open, and curious, obviously. Um, Most intrinsically motivated. You need to also work with your team to garner the outcome that is necessary, and you need to be eager to work with persons and commit to advancing diversity and equity within the organization. Now, in terms of what you need to know is that it is a flexible schedule for the workday, and that is in the US time zone, and it overlaps with the Pacific time zone. Now, you need to be able to speak and write multiple language. It's an asset, and you need to be knowledgeable of the online community interaction and dynamic. For the salary for this role, one can expect the annual pay range for this position to be based on the US $110,603 up to $170,778 annually, with multiple individualized factors. And of course, these are going to be your cost of living and other determinants for the pay. Persons who live outside of the USA, and this is going to be the same for all other jobs, the pay range will be adjusted to your country of hire. So they neither ask for nor take into consideration the salary history that you had before. So if you were employed they don't ask or consider whether it was a high paying role or a low paying role. You are perfect for this role. And the compensation for successful applicants is based on the skills, experience, and their locality. Now, the second job that is on the list is that of a senior visual designer. And what that person needs to do is design the highest standard of crafts with attention to detail. And this has to be from social design, toolkits, and global campaigns. You're going to oversee many projects from the start to the completion to make sure that you're meeting timeline and that your stakeholders are involved. You are also going to be solving complex problems which are posed by the foundation team and push for better creative designs and branding. You are basically a brand ambassador, safeguarding and developing the brand's guidelines. And of course, you have to work with a team to maintain the library of brand assets and material for the foundation. Now, you're also going to be creating a collaborative environment because, as was mentioned before, a lot of your work scope is involved with members of the team. And you have to ensure that your output basically reflects the values of the foundation, solving problems through working together and showing positive attitudes and honesty, empathy, being a steward for the mission that Wikimedia Foundation is on. For this role, you need 6+ years of experience with a deep understanding for fundamentals of design, with great attention to detail and craft, and ensuring that your output is always at the highest standard. So for this, if you're someone who is always aiming to outdo their last project, this is perfect for you. You need to be able to manage project timelines because, of course, you're going to need to meet deadlines and you're going to be managing these projects from beginning to completion. You need to be able to flourish in a environment that is very uh, goal oriented and it has a diverse culture, diverse demography. And of course, you need to have a sense of creative experimentation and innovation so that you are able to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. For a bonus, if you are somebody who has experience working globally in a variety of markets, then you're perfect for this role. And of course, if you have the ability or have worked with many brands and have community stakeholders, being a part of volunteerism communities, then this role is perfect for you. In terms of the salary range for this role, it's starting 90,223 dollars USD up to $139,037. And of course, as I said before, the cost of living and other factors may determine the pay. Um, the third job on our listing is the senior financial analyst. And what that person will be doing is working remotely and is open to candidates between the UTC, which is the Pacific Daylight Time to Atlantic Time, and that's from 8 to 4. This role involves working with global distributed team, and you may partially be required to work outside of the standard business hours. Now, your responsibility involve budgeting, forecasting, long-term financial planning, developing and maintaining complex financial models to make sure that you're keeping track of trends, risk, and possible opportunities. You will be collaborating with cross-functional teams and reporting the monthly, quarterly, or annual um, financials of the business, including any variances or KPIs. You will also be in charge of implementing and identifying ways to efficiently manage the financial processes, reporting the financial processing and stakeholders and tool. And of course, you need to be able to communicate to present these financial insights and recommendations to the leaders. And of course, project management would be an asset since you would be supporting the strategic projects across the foundation. A bachelor's in finance, accounting, economics, or a related area, banking and financing, stuff like that would be perfect for this role. And they require 5 years of experience in financial analysis, planning, or a related role. With this, you need to be a strong problem solver with great analytic skills, and that will make you perfect for interpreting the complex financial data. And you need to be able to work with Excel, Google Sheets, financial modeling, data visualization tools, and you need to be able to work independently as well as collaboratively in a remote, friendly, multicultural environment. Now, experience working in a nonprofit is great with grants management or international financial operations. Those are also great. And if you are familiar with open source communication or the Wikimedia Foundation's movement, then that would be perfect. And for this job, should you join the Wikimedia Foundation, you will be getting the opportunity to work on impactful projects, be a part of a team of inclusive and mission-driven stakeholders, and you will be able to enjoy a flexible, remote-friendly work environment. This role starting salary is $106,409 up to the upper limit of 129 to $71,000. Now, for the next job, we have the lead project manager, Wikidata platform, and this person has the responsibility of project management lifestyle of the Wikimedia query service. You will be working collaboratively with stakeholders to find users' needs, translating them into priorities, and of course, making a system that helps to reach the goal and the intended outcome. This is a remote position and it's open to candidates residing in a range of different locations across the world. Some traveling is required, though, so please be cognizant of that. It is a role that involves ensuring the privacy, security, and integrity of the data. It is very important that you are able to develop and maintain, prioritize product roadmaps, track the communicating progress on product development, and maintain an understanding of current developing innovations in structural knowledge. Now, for this role, there are another prior 8 years of experience in project management, and this is something that will help where database and knowledge graph representation technologies and standards are concerned. And you need to have experience navigating issues associated with privacy and, of course, past success in breaking down ambiguous projects would be an asset, as well as past success in working with multiple stakeholder teams and delivering results of high quality. Now, as a person, if you are a problem solver who is strong in collaboration and you lead well, that would be an asset. You need to have outstanding writing and verbal or written and verbal communication skills, be able to navigate and make decisions in circumstances that are, limiting, incomplete, conflicting of that sort. Be curious and committed to continuous learning, be resilient and patient at the same time, be interested in and have the ability to work remotely within a distributed team across zones, and of course, be knowledgeable that you might be required to travel, have an EQ that is standard, something that works, emotional intelligence, kindness, be able to learn, understand, and respond to multiple perspectives so that you can get the wider picture captured. Be committed to the mission of the organization, and of course, be willing to gain experience if you don't already have it with open source, open data, open knowledge communities, and be a contributor to the Wikimedia movement. Now, for this salary, we have a starting salary of $124,463 up to an upper limit of $193,900, and that's in USD. For the next job we have is the Senior Product Manager, Abstract Media, and the responsibility for this is that you'll be developing a roadmap to balance short-term execution of long-term strategic goal, building alignment between stakeholders and the community, owning the end-to-end products lifestyle. We are using the qualitative and quantitative method to informed decision, developing a deep understanding of the community's needs, and realizing features to iteratively deliver values and validate hypotheses. You should also be able to communicate trade-offs or communicate clear product vision to internal and external audience. The minimum of 5 years of product management experience in software development would be required, and you need to have experience developing and refining products management frameworks, as well as past success in breaking down ambiguous projects into clear tasks. And this is with a bias towards action. Outstanding written and verbal communication skills, excellent follow-up, attention to detail, time management, project management skills, ability to interact effectively and develop productive work relationship is also an asset, as well as the ability to work with a team that is remote across many time zones and comfortably evolve. If you have experience with natural language processing, computational linguistics, or knowledge management technology, and product your multilingual product or platform personnel experience in that, good understanding of internationalization and localization, as well as editing Wikimedia projects, then you're perfect for this role. In terms of the salary range for this one, it is USD $104,691 up to $161,585. The next job lead is the tech lead, and for this role, you would be required to perform the responsibilities of being a stability, performance, and scalability architect or data pipeline personnel for Wikimedia. You need to articulate the vision of the foundation, develop new query methods, APIs, algorithm indexing strategies, be a person who collaborates well with, product managers, engineering managers, along with other stakeholders within the company. You need to maintain an understanding of current developing structural knowledge representation technologies, and you need to persevere through setbacks to ensure that the team meets the goals and the communication is very vital so that you can be able to pivot where necessary. You will also be required to develop an understanding of the movement, how it drives the work, as well as perform data analysis to uncover insights and patterns. For this role, we need 8 years of experience building and scaling API-driven data platforms, 4 years of experience in data engineering, specifically with product deployment at scale, proficiency in Java, C++, or programming language of database interaction. You also need to have knowledge of how highly scalable data processing framework like Spark, Kafka, Flink, etc., as well as be able to work with multiple stakeholders and have some amount of success in your past role. Now, you need to be committed to the mission, be a great problem solver who collaborates well, have great written and verbal communication skill, be able to navigate and make decisions based on limited information or conflicts in information, be curious, generate simple but elegant solutions in the complex environment where reasonable resources are limited, and, be able to grow and impact others through mentoring or mentorship and develop their other engineers. For this, you need to be resilient, patient, have an emotional IQ, um, as well as be kind and have the ability to listen, understand, and respond. Familiarity with containerization, Docker, Kubernetes, as well as CI or CD pipelines, if those are the pronunciation, would be an asset, as well as, be experienced with open source, open data, contributors, be a contributor to Wikimedia, Wikidata, as well as deliver data platform ability that can be shared to drive use during interviews. For this role, we have a starting salary of USD 129,337, up to the upper limit of $200,824. Now we have 6 roles remaining, and this one that we have requires you to be located within the time zone of UTC -4 to UTC +3. And this role reports to the Senior Director of Engineering and shares responsibility with the Director of Products for MediaWiki. And your responsibility would be to lead the group of team working to build, maintain, or improve the capability of this product. And that product would be the MediaWiki. You would be living and demonstrating the values of fostering a working environment with a team, hiring, coaching, developing, empowering engineer managers, as well as highly senior individuals to contribute to the success of solving the problems that are existing with the media engineering group. And of course, you're going to be in the engineering delivery of the team, collaborating with the product director for MediaWiki, and of course, you will be collaborating and taking joint responsibility of fellow engineer leaders, planning, staffing, budgeting, managing expenses, etc. Now, for the skills, you will need to have experience leading a team that manage software, and this would be service in an organization with over 100 software engineers. You need to be able to lead or manage the back-end platform organization, as well as manage organizational interactions with community of volunteers, technical contributors, build and lead diverse multinational and remote first teams, as well as be experienced with managing managers and be able to travel up to 2 to 3 times per year with working flexible hours within an organization that has multiple time zone clashes. Now, if you are someone who has served as an ambassador for the foundation, you would be perfect for this job, as well as if you know or live by the values of the organization. If you have experience contributing to or managing open source projects, or experience with open governance, IEFT, IETF, W3C, etc., or you are familiar with the MediaWiki, or you are familiar with working in high traffic system powered by large monolithic code base, then you're perfect for this job. And the starting salary for this one is $172,976 up to $269,000, 298. Coming down, we have staff site reliable engineers, and their responsibility would be to design and implement robust ML infrastructure during training, deployment, m- monitoring, and scaling of machine learning models. You need to have experience improving reliability, availability, or scalability of ML infrastructure, collaborating closely with ML engineers, product team, research SREs, providing expert guidance and documentation to team across Wikimedia, as well as mentoring the team and sharing knowledge on infrastructure management. 7 years plus of the experience in site reliability engineering would be perfect, or in DevOps or infrastructure engineering roles, whichever, that would be fine. And that would be with a substantial exposure to product grade machine learning systems. If you have proven expertise with on-premises infrastructure for machine learning workloads, then that would be also perfect. And they have Docker, Kubernetes, GPU acceleration, etc. Strong proficiency with infrastructure automation like Terraform, Ansible, Helm, or experience implementing observability, monitoring, or logging for ML with Prometheus, Grafana, ELK stack, and familiarity with Python-based ML framework or strong English communication, those would be great for the role. In terms of additional qualities that or experience that the ideal candidate should have is at least one of the following, which is scalability, ML infrastructure, reliability, and operations or tooling and automation. And each of those have a breakdown, which has to do with demonstrating the expertise or proving the track record of ensuring reliability of robust operation of complex distribution ML system, and for this role, the salary starts at $129,347 up to $200,824. The next job is also with Wikimedia, and it is the role of an engineering manager for trust and safety products. And for this role, the responsibilities would be managing the stakeholder environment comprising of teams within departments and as well as outside of the department, to ensure the functionality of the community, coaching engineers of varying levels, helping them to grow and set personal development goals, as well as ensuring the time shipping of deliverables by managing resources, driving the team processes and meeting the respective timeline to make sure that the team works together effectively and efficiently, effective triaging of incoming bugs, incidents, and one-off requests, as well as collaborating with other technical decision makers and managing dependencies across different teams. You need to be able to assess scope and difficulty of the task and examine patch or alerts and judge problem severity and solution. Now, for this job, the requirements would be that you are able to lead from experience and managing full stack team. You need to have experience building a diverse multinational or remote first team, be proven to have had of successes at all stage of the engineering process, be able to travel internationally 2 to 3 times annually, and be able to work in overlapping time zones that are from UTC plus 2 up to UTC -7. And that's to accommodate members of your team which reside across the world. The additional experience are similar to the job before. However, it also includes the familiarity with anti-abuse and security work on large online platforms, familiarity with regulatory compliances for online platforms, working with the internationally distributed team, as well as being able to communicate with technical problems of nuances and care. For this job, the salary starts at 127,714 up to 200,943,000. And we have engineering manager, which we have spoken about, with the responsibility of collaborating with teams and cross-function stakeholders, driving execution of projects, tracking performance metrics, and making sure that these are met, communicating proactively on progress, risk, and outcome of stakeholders, ensuring engineering team is managing and are engaged in the productive use of their time, understanding the bigger picture of the project and effectively contributing to it. This person needs to be able to coach and conduct performance reviews, providing career guidance, as well as building professional and inclusive work cultures. They need to also be able to manage risk and succession planning for projects, documenting and implementing lifestyle management, as well as best practices for software which are built for the foundation. A part of the job would also be inclusive of interviewing, hiring, onboarding, and mentoring engineers with the goal of quickly making them productive in the organization. Now, they didn't give a specific number of years, but several years of engineering experience, including multiple years of technical management or leadership. So 10 years or more would be perfect. You need to also have several years of hands-on experience developing and designing web applications using Python, Go, PHP, or other uh, programming languages. You need to also be able to build or have experience having built or operated resilient, reliable softwares for scalability infrastructure technology. You need to have good written and verbal communication skills in English with the ability to articulate complex technical terms. And you need to have an established track record or prior success in working with a multicultural, remote, and demonstrated high performance uh, you need to also be able to work flexibly from 2 to 6 p.m. UTC, and that is the overlapping time zone because, of course, your team is working across the world. Some qualities is that you need to align with the mission of the organization, have experience with open source development methodology, be excellent in communicating and following up, be experienced in working remotely and the level of engagement and communication that it takes to ensure that your team, which is distributed worldwide, functions and remains healthy. You need to have experience in a large scale global developer economy ecosystem, as well as be resilient, be able to work together, and be passionate about developing people and platforms. For this role, the starting salary is 127,714 up to 200,943, which is the same as the previous role. Now, for the engineering manager for software quality and documentation services, the role is very similar, except that you need to also be able to drive the execution of SLA key performance metric, and of course work to be actively on block. Now you also need to oversee design, implementation, and maintenance of automated test suite, as well as coach the team and ensure the both teams are engaged and are being productive. The requirements are much the same, and the mission or qualities that you need to have are also the same, except for that you need to be passionate about developing people and platforms with a focus on fostering a strong product minded culture. Now, for the additional qualities or experience that you might have, knowledge in documentation as code tools such as Markdown would be great. Knowledge in testing automation tools for E2E or visual regression, that would be great. And you need to also be familiar with MediaWiki as well as have experience editing or working with Wikipedia, Wikimedia, and as well as transitioning test engineer experience from manual testing towards automation. For this role, the salary is starting at 120,791 USD up to 189,762 USD. And the final job lead that we have is the software engineer of trust and safety team. And that is going to be someone who works alongside project management, engineering manager, product design, research analyst, communication liaison, test engineer, etc. Now, this person will be working on improving a code base that has evolved over 2 decades, and they need to have knowledge of PHP or JavaScript, which makes up most of the code, and they need to be able to develop and test new features, improvements, and upgrades They also need to be able to contribute to projects that requires handling sensitivity or sensitive data and private information. They also need to be able to provide support in abuse investigation on the platform, helping identify source and causes of these incidents, as well as developing expertise in trust, safety area, as well as security, privacy, abuse mitigation, content moderation, and legal compliances. Now, for this role, you also need to be experienced in extending the capability of the media wiki stack to serve diverse community, as well as you need to be able to work across teams to proactively reduce technical debt by refactoring code, updating testing framework, or reviewing codes from other engineers. For the skills, you need to have 3+ years of professional or volunteer experience in software engineering, including front end and back end development, with emphasis on back end. You need to have experience in coverting design mockup as well as in incorporating performance and accessibility into the features. You need to be focused on software engineering, writing units, integrating tests, proactively addressing security and code, reviewing feedback, and thoughtfully balancing trade-offs, as well as you need to have strong written and oral communication skills. Um, as you know, collaboration largely happens online via chat, wikis, or documents or tickets. For the qualities that are important to the Wikimedia Foundation, those include being desirous of making a meaningful impact to knowledge, equity, free culture, and open access. You need to also be able to give an emphasis on communicating clearly in both synchronous and asynchronous channels. Be willing to participate in technical discussion while putting forward your solutions to technical issues, as well as participating in code review and receiving feedback. You need to be eager and curious to solve technical problems, and you need to have the skills to effectively work with the documentation, writing clearly and concisely, and navigating existing documentation in search for answers. Finally, be, cognizant that you need to be sensitive to problems that are being solved and be empathetic to the users while you display tact in handling content and information which is continuously being processed by Wikimedia. If you have experience with media wiki development, that's an asset. Or if you've contributed to a Wikipedia project, that's also an asset. If you have experience in legacy code base or experience in free or open source software development, that's also an asset. And finally, if you have experience with online community moderation, vandalism prevention, or trust and safety concepts practices, then those would be an asset. This is the lowest paying role on the list that we have today, and the starting salary for it is $88,975 up to 139,056. Now, how would you apply for the job? The application is down below. You fill out all the information that are asterisked in red. Those are the desired field. And I would also recommend that you fill out the other documentations that are not in asterisk, as they must be important should they be asking you for it. Be able to tell about your identification if you so desire, as it is voluntary. Be able to determine whether you have a disability, as it's also voluntary. And once you have filled out all of these slots, inserted your resume, cover letter, answered all these questions, you can safely submit your application for review. Now, I wish you all the best with these job leads, and until next time, stay safe.